Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm happy that you've chosen to do this intense Yin Yoga class with me. So I'm calling this an intense Yin Yoga class because it's really what I consider to be the most challenging Yin Yoga postures that really help us open up the hips, the hamstrings, the quads, and the glutes. So fantastic for the lower body and improving flexibility in that area. Start in a comfortable cross-legged seated position. Sit up nice and tall and connect to your breath. Our breath is key in Yin Yoga, especially when we are doing more challenging poses. You always want to make sure that you are still inhaling and exhaling through the nose at a steady pace. If you notice your breath becoming short or shallow, that is usually a good indication that you've gone a little bit too far in the pose and need to back out. Our first pose will be a wide-legged forward fold. So go ahead and open up the legs and place yourself in the way where the knees and the toes are pointing slightly up towards the sky. Feel free to sit up on a block here if you'd like. I'm not using any props for this practice, mostly just because I'm on a beach. And then start to walk the palms forward and ease your way into that fold. Because we hold these poses for a few minutes, there's no need to go too far right at the beginning. Give your body the opportunity to soften and slowly open up. The longer you stay in the pose, the more the upper body will start to drop, the hamstrings will start to relax, and you'll be able to make the pose a bit more enjoyable. And I like to leave a lot of silence, so just stay with your breath, stay connected, and back off if you need to. Slowly walk the palms in inch by inch. Take your time to get back up. And you might need to use your hands to help the legs come back in. We'll take a butterfly forward fold. Bring the soles of your feet together to touch. You're trying to bring your heels close in towards the hips. Allow your knees to fall open. And if this is enough, you can stay lifted up tall. Otherwise, once again, you're walking your palms forward and folding into the shape. Upper body is heavy. Get gravity to do the work for you and not the other way around. If you're doing this at home and you have your props, you can always put a block under each thigh to give yourself a little bit more support, and you can also sit up on a block. And let's come out of this pose. Take your time. And once you're sitting up, you can let the knees drop from side to side. We'll focus on the hip flexors next. So make your way into a tabletop stance, and you'll step your right foot forward in between the palms. So if you're doing this on a hard floor, you might want to pad your left knee by either folding up your mat or putting a blanket underneath you. You want to make sure that your right knee is not going too far past your right ankle. I'm keeping my palms down on the ground, but if that's too far away, place your hands on some blocks. Feel the hips press forward and down. Try not to worry too much about the chest here. Get yourself settled in a stance that is comfortable and fairly easy to hold. This is my all-time favorite yoga pose. Fantastic for the low back, great if you sit for long periods of time, and a really, really great way to improve flexibility in the hip flexors. From this low lunge, you're going to lean on your left hand and start to extend your right arm back to catch a hold of that left foot as you draw the heel in towards the glute, stretching into the quads. If this is not yet accessible to you, you can use a strap to loop around your left foot. Notice how tempting it is to lift the hips up to meet the heel. Instead, I want you to keep pressing your hips down and try to bring your heel in towards you. Your right shoulder will draw back slightly, so there is a little bit of a twist in the upper body. Keep breathing and pay attention to what your right thigh and right knee are doing. Press down firmly through all four corners of that right foot. Find your edge. There is no need to go too far in this shape. Carefully release the hold of that back foot. Bring your palms, fingertips back down to the floor, and we're going to straighten our right leg, switching gears, going into the hamstrings again. Choose either to do this half splits with your left knee still bent, or you can slide that right leg forward and come into your full splits. If you're somewhere in between, putting a block underneath the hips or underneath the knees can be a nice variation of this pose. And it's up to you if you want to keep your chest upright or if you'd prefer to fold over your right thigh. As much as possible, see if you can keep that right knee and your toes pointing up and your left knee and your left toes pointing down, squaring your hips towards the front of the mat. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being so intense that it's almost painful, you want to stay at about a 5. There's no need to push yourself too far. We want to take ego out of the equation. You're not comparing yourself to anyone, and also not comparing yourself to other practices that you've had in the past. Honor your body wherever it is right now. Start to ease out of this pose. Really take your time. If you need longer than what I'm doing, go ahead. Otherwise, we're just moving into our low lunge on the other side. So this time you'll need to step your left foot forward in between the palms. Right knee is down on the ground. Feel free to pat it if you'd like. You want to try to roll more towards the top of your thigh as opposed to directly on the kneecap. And I like to let my belly rest on that front left thigh with the palms to the ground, but modify however you'd like to. Just make sure you have that 90-degree angle with your left knee and that you're not letting it go too far past your ankle. We always want to be mindful of our joints. And although there's not much going on in the upper body, keep drawing your shoulder blades down the back so the shoulders are away from the ears, the neck has plenty of space. Take a deep breath in through the nose and out. With every exhale, can you imagine your hips sinking down lower and lower towards the ground? Let's move into our quad stretch. Your right hand will stay as it is. You extend your left arm back to catch a hold of your right foot. Remember, you can use a strap. Otherwise, you're trying to pull your right heel in towards your glute, lightly drawing your left shoulder back so there's a bit of a twist in the chest. Still pressing your hips forward and down, softening the gaze. Remember that you can come out of these poses at any time if it's too much. If you notice that you're fidgeting or tightening up and resisting, that's usually a good indication that you've gone a little bit too far into this pose. Let's release the hold of that back foot, transitioning into your half splits. Start to straighten your left leg. Feel free to keep your palms down on the ground or on some blocks. You can always hinge forward at the waist to fold over that left thigh, or you can slide the left leg forward and make your way into your full splits. The right hip is going to want to pull back. It's pretty hard to keep your hips perfectly squared here in full splits, but as much as possible, see if you can keep that so that your hips and your shoulders face forward. Letting go of any excess tension building up in the arms. And gently inviting the hamstrings to release. Slowly make your way out of this pose, whether it was full splits or half splits. And for our final pose, we're going to bring our legs forward, sitting down, coming into a straight leg forward fold. And you want your legs together, maybe hip width distance apart. Feel free to put some blocks under your knees or underneath the hips. Feel some length on the inhale, and as you exhale, start to fold forward. Feel the pelvis tilt forward. And you might not be going too far into this one. This can be a bit of a frustrating pose. Try not to get too caught up in how far down you do make it. The benefit of the pose will be the same, whether or not your belly touches your thighs or your forehead comes down to the shins. It really does not matter. Just feel the nice stretch that you get in the entire posterior chain. So from the crown of the head, down into the neck, along the spine, deep into the lower back muscles, and all the way down through the backs of the legs. Maybe you feel this into the soles of the feet as well. This is not about pushing ourselves or pulling to go deeper into the fold. Allow the upper body and the upper back to round just a little bit, but let yourself dangle and be heavy. Breathe. inch by inch, walk the palms back and lift yourself up. At this point, it's up to you how you want to finish your practice. I'm going to close in a seated meditation. However, you can lie all the way back onto your back for Shavasana, final resting pose. No matter which way you're choosing to finish this class, simply close the eyes and notice the different sensations occurring in your body. How do you feel now compared to when you first began this class? It could be a physical shift, an emotional shift, or even just a shift in perspective. We always want to acknowledge and honor those changes. I welcome you to stay here for as long as you would like. I do hope you enjoyed this practice. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my channel. It makes a huge difference and it helps to support my work. Have a fantastic day. Namaste.